Hello everyone. So I want to make this video to talk about desire and why desire is good. I don't really believe in good and bad, but I kind of want to point out that everyone in like the spiritual gurus world or whatever are always like desire bad, desire bad, desire bad, desire is always bad, you have to get rid of desire, blah, blah, blah. I believe this is complete bullshit. And so I want to show the other case, the case for why desire is good. So what is desire? Well, desire, first of all, is the force that makes us move. Without desire, there is no movement. Nothing will happen. You wake up, you stay in your bed. If you don't desire to get out, you don't get out. If you don't desire to drink, you don't drink. If you don't desire to eat, you don't eat. If you don't desire to learn, you don't learn. If you don't desire to study, you don't study. If you don't desire to work, you don't work. If you don't desire to know more, you don't research. If you don't desire to think, you don't think. If you don't desire to achieve enlightenment, you don't achieve enlightenment. If you don't desire not to desire, you still desire. So it's kind of funny because this idea of non-desiring, you should not desire, then you just end up desiring not to desire. So it builds kind of a paradox which show that the premise probably doesn't make any sense. So what is wrong with desire? I'm not sure actually. It's a very good question. Why is there all this obsession that desire is bad? I don't really know. I mean, so if you have dropped the conditioned mind and you got rid of the stories and of the conditionings, it's really hard to think how could anyone even come up with the idea that desire is bad, that there is anything wrong in desire. It just makes so little sense. Now, of course, if you start to add stories, you can find many stories that will be compatible with an idea that desire is bad. Like, for example, so I'm just guessing here. I'm just being like devil's advocate. I'm trying to look at the other side. So maybe the fear of death, the fear that at the end of the day we are all going to die, our body is not going to last forever, so maybe we start to fear that, and by fearing that we want to feel that we are doing something special, maybe something better, maybe we are better than others, maybe we deserve more from life or from the afterlife or whatever. So maybe the idea to doing certain actions that like produce pain, because we have this, if we have this story of no pain, no gain, this story of reward and punishment, which is a huge story that almost everyone has, the story that there is some kind of justice in the universe, that there is some kind of punishment and reward mechanism. So if we have this story, then on the basis of that story, we could then build some idea that if we give ourselves the pain, then maybe we get some gain. And so maybe if we abandon, let's say, material stuff or desire, if we do some kind of sacrifice, we sacrifice material stuff that we can experience in life, then maybe in the afterlife we get some reward. So then this will build a story that we are better than others, we are more holy than others, we are spiritually more advanced, spiritually more superior. We did something great. We induce pain in ourselves by not doing things that we want or giving up things that we like. And this produces pain, but this pain through the story becomes the pleasure of feeling special, feeling superior, and the idea that we will get a reward. Because we self-induce some pain, and if we believe in no pain, no gain, we believe in punishment and reward, then why not? So now we build ourselves a good story. So we induce pain to ourselves, and that makes us better, and we will be rewarded in the afterlife because we are more spiritual, because we induced pain to ourselves. This could be one of the origins, doesn't have to be the only one. There could be many origins for this idea, but, or some, like for example, some people have the idea of craving. So the idea that, for example, the idea, not necessarily punishment and reward, but the idea that if you desire something and then you get it, you will automatically want more, and then forever you want more, so just stop it now. Again, I don't see how much sense this makes. I mean, it is true, of course, that our brain gets used to things, so we get used to stuff, and so of course we don't appreciate it the same the first time and the following times. But still, it's like, let's say your house is cold because there is no heating. You feel cold and you desire that it's more warm. Of course, when you just turn on the warmth, the heater, you feel this big warm. It's like amazing feeling. And then you get used to it. Yeah, you get used to it. But it's still much better than when it was cold. Of course, you get used also to eating good food. And of course, if you eat bad food every day and one day you eat good food, you can feel the jump, the wow effect. Poof. And then you get used to it, so maybe it drops a little bit. Yeah, but it's still better than eating bad food every day. So it's better to eat good food every day and get used to it than eating bad food every day and get used to it. It's better to live in a warm house and get used to it than living in a cold house and get used to it. So yes, we get used to things, but it's still better to have the thing and get used to it than not have the thing, for most cases, maybe not always. So maybe even the people that say this, the cravings and whatever, maybe there is a story behind some idea that by some kind of unconscious belief in reward and punishment and reward. So if you renounce this, then you're making a sacrifice and you're renouncing the things that you like in this life, the material stuff. And so maybe who knows that you're going to get some reward in a kind of spiritual form in the afterlife. So in the meantime, that makes you feel more spiritual, more advanced, more evolved, better, more moral, more whatever, closer to God. You pick it. But at the end of the day, this is based on stories. So the story of no pain, no gain, punishment and reward, the craving story, which I think is also highly connected to punishment and reward. How exactly will we operate without the story? Will we go for our desires, or will we go against? Will we eat the food we like or the food we dislike? Will we keep our room at the temperature we like or at the temperature we dislike? What will we do? If there was no story, obviously we will follow our preference, because what will be left to interfere with our preference? There will be nothing left to interfere. So the story interferes with the preference by creating some kind of second degree preference. So I like food, I like good food, I like a warm house, but I like even more the idea of being more holy, more spiritual, more whatever, more deserving of some reward in the afterlife. And I deeply believe in punishment and reward. So I will force myself to eat food I don't like, because there is a story that says punishment and reward. And indeed, if I self-inflict myself the pain, the sacrifice of not eating the food I like, but eating the food I dislike, I actually prefer that more. So we are still following our preference in the case where we renounce desire. Just that it's a distorted preference based on a story. So it's not a direct preference. I like fish, I eat fish. It's more like I like fish, but I believe that there is punishment and reward in the universe. And I believe that if I self-inflict punishment onto myself, then some reward will come And if the punishment is of material nature, then maybe the reward will be of spiritual nature. Now, with this story in your mind, now it's absolutely possible that you would prefer to eat white rice every day, because the story has changed your preference. The story has distorted your preference. But the story is just a story. How do you know it's true? Do you have any evidence? I mean, reward and punishment is something that exists usually for animals, like our brain has developed with this concept, of course. So if we eat food that is healthy for us, then it probably has a good taste because it's good for our body. So most likely our tongue and our brain evolved so that when we do things that are good for our survival, we feel good. And when we do things that are bad for our survival, we feel bad. Let's say like poop. Poop smells bad. But it's not that it smells bad by itself. Our brain has evolved to dislike the smell of poop because it's bad for us. It contains no nutrition and it could contain disease. Whereas our brain has evolved to like the taste of fresh fruits because they are healthy for us. So desire and reward and punishment, yes, of course, reward and punishment has evolved in the animal kingdom so that animals can move towards things that are good for them and away things that are bad for them. So if you eat something that is toxic for you, you will feel sick. Hopefully you will not die immediately, but let's say the taste will be bitter. Maybe you will puke, you will feel sick. So there is an adaptation. Your body will kind of punish you for doing something that is against your survival. But this is just a mechanism that comes through evolution. So evolution of animals, which of course we are, just like all the other animals. So our brain has evolved to push us towards things that are good for our survival and push us away from things that are bad for our survival. So of course, a mechanism of reward and punishment has been evolved. And then we also use reward and punishment to control other people or other animals. So let's say when you put the carrot in front of the donkey, you use reward and punishment. Or when you want to train a dog, you use reward and punishment. But even for normal people, let's say you give bonuses to people that perform well, and you maybe reduce the salary of people that perform poorly. But this is all based on the evolution of animals and human society. The idea of reward and punishment. Why do we believe that it has any room, any space, or any reason to exist in the universe as an absolute law, just like gravity or the speed of light or whatever? It's something that evolved. It's something that animal life evolved. It's the result of evolution. It's not some absolute truth. The reward and punishment only exist as a concept that emerges from animal life. It's not something that exists on day one, like gravity or the basic forces of the particles or like whatever the speed of light is. Those are like, let's say, fundamental things. Reward and punishment is not fundamental. It's not like the laws of physics. It is a property, a behavior, a phenomena that emerges from animals. Because the animals that had the wrong rewards and punishments didn't survive. The animals that like to eat unhealthy food and don't like healthy food, they will quickly die. So only the ones that have the proper mechanism of reward and punishment, of, let's say, the selection of food or the selection of which risk to take, if to run when there is a lion or not, blah, 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 blah. So the animals will evolve so that they follow the principle of reward and punishment. So again, if you see the lion, you have to be scared and run. If you see a good fruit, you have to want to eat it. And if you see poop, you have to stay away from it. Reward and punishment, but this evolves with our brains. It's a product of evolution. It emerges from life. It emerges from biology. It's not an absolute natural force like gravity. So why would it apply in some kind of metaphysical way? if there is an afterlife, why would it be based on reward and punishment? Now, we don't know if there is. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But again, let's see. What if there is? If there is an afterlife, why would it be based on reward and punishment, which is highly specific to biological animals? And it's there to increase their survival. In the afterlife, it may very well be in a place where there is no need to eat food, there is no need to survive. So why would the rules of reward and punishment apply? They probably don't. Or maybe they do by pure chance, but there is no reason to believe that they do. So why do we build those stories that there is some absolute sense of reward and punishment? It's kind of very naive. The assumption to expand our current human experience as like Homo sapiens animals, which of course we evolved successfully from the idea of reward and punishment, and then extend it to the entire universe as if it was some kind of fundamental force that has always existed and will always exist. If tomorrow the earth explodes and everyone dies, maybe the concept of reward and punishment is gone. Maybe it's nowhere else to be found in the universe. Or maybe other planets also with alien civilizations have similar mechanisms. Possible. Probably also likely. But it's not some kind of fundamental force. It's not some kind of absolute truth. So desire is a great thing because desire creates motion. It makes you want to do things. If not, you will just sit and do nothing and wait to die. Even the desire to understand ourselves better, to do introspection, to develop more self-awareness. It requires desire. Every action requires desire. The question is only if the desire is direct, that is the desire for pursuing a preference, or it's distorted by a story. Is it the desire that you want to feel unique and special and you are going to do certain things, like for example renouncing stuff, so inflict yourself pain so that you can feel more special, more holy, more spiritual? It's a form of desire too. It's just distorted by a story. So the reality is everyone follows their desire anyway. There is no case. Even the monks that want to meditate 10 hours a day, he still desires to meditate 10 hours a day. He just gives some meaning to that meditation. Either he finds it very pleasurable, which is possible, then maybe it's a very entertaining activity, or he gives some meaning to the action of meditating. That makes him more spiritual, more holy, better. So again, if you truly find enjoyment in meditation, that's great. It's a direct desire. But if he meditates a lot because he gives a meaning to the meditation, a meaning is a story, by the way, so meaning, story is the same. So if he gives a meaning to his meditation, and the meaning is, I'm better than others that don't meditate, I'm more close to God or to the universe, my soul is not corrupt by material things, blah, 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 blah. Of course, if he tells himself the story, he may very well prefer to meditate to validate those stories. But the question is, are those stories true? Isn't it better to drop those stories? So desire is inevitable. Desire is the cause of all action. There is no action without desire. Even wanting to remove desire is a desire in itself. Desire is a synonym for action. It's really, or motivation for action. Like, this is funny because the word desire is basically the same as the word motivation. But the word desire has this kind of bad connotation, whereas the word motivation has this good connotation. So if I say, I desire to eat, people are like, oh, that's bad. Gluttony, let's say. But if someone say, I'm motivated to eat, let's say someone is anorexic and is like in the hospital, he doesn't feel like eating, like, yeah, but I'm motivated to eat. What is the difference between motivation and desire? I mean, someone could say that motivation, there could be an element of trying to self-induce it too. But it's the same. I mean, potentially you could also try to self-induce desire. So what is exactly the difference between desire and motivation? Maybe it's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. But no one say you should have no motivation. In some way, when someone say, I really have no motivation, People are like, oh, that's terrible. But if someone say, I have no desire, they're like, wow, that's great. He's enlightened. He has no desire. But motivation and desire is probably the same thing. But still, we have this feel, there is so much bad press around desire that we feel that if someone has no desire, they're amazing. But then if someone has no motivation, we say that's terrible. So we kind of recognize the need for desire, but we just put a bad connotation to the word desire, but we still give a good connotation to the word motivation. Of course you need desire, of course you need motivation. But the key is your desire and motivation about something that is actually your preference, is a direct preference, is what you want, or you're just doing it for a story. So there is a story in your head, and you have built some ideas that if you desire certain things, if you are motivated for certain things, if you do certain things, then certain things will happen. You build a story about how by doing something, something else will happen. But it's probably just a story.